Welcome to the 2021 Creative Folkestone Book Festival. My name's Lydia, and today we are going to create some artwork inspired by some extracts from books written by the incredible author Katherine Rundell. We have been lucky enough to welcome Katherine Rundell as our guest for our schools events this year and have been inspired by her extraordinary imaginative power to transport her readers to rooftops in Paris or the Amazon rainforest or the streets of New York. Katherine Rundell is a best-selling English author and academic. She's a fellow of All Souls College in Oxford and was born in Kent, although she spent most of her childhood in Africa and Europe. She loves to climb and is learning to fly on a trapeze. Katherine Rundell has won tons of awards, and her books include Girl Savage, Rooftoppers, The Wolf Wilder, The Explorer, The Good Thieves, and most recently, Why You Should Read Children's Books Even Though You Are So Old and Wise. This is a great quote from Katherine Rundell from an interview. Can you think of another simile that describes reading? Now, artists have always been drawn to stories and literature for inspiration. Can you think of a painting or a sculpture or a performance piece, a dance maybe, even a film or a piece of design that have been inspired by a story? Take a look at some of these paintings. They are all inspired by a book. Can you guess which book it is? Here, if you're struggling, these might help. This book has also inspired lots of filmmakers. Yep, it's Alice in Wonderland. I wonder why Alice has inspired so many artists. I once missed a train to work because I had my nose stuck in my copy of Alice in Wonderland. For me, I love it when books take me to new and intriguing places and allow me to recreate those places in my own imagination. Okay, here's an easy one. I'm sure you'll guess which poem inspired these artists. Yeah, that's right. It's The Owl and the Pussycat. This is a tricky one. I'm sure lots of you will recognise some of our local landmarks on this poster, but look carefully in the background on the hills. Do any of you know what that is? It is a tripod from a novel by H.G. Wells called War of the Worlds. They were terrifying fighting machines from Mars, and thankfully I've not seen any of them stomping around Folkestone lately. H.G. Wells lived near Folkestone in Sandgate for 8 years, and perhaps he imagined tripods looming over the harbour arm and thundering through the viaduct. How about this sculpture? Do you know where it is? This is Cornelia Parker's Folkestone Mermaid. It is inspired by the story of The Little Mermaid. Cornelia Parker decided to depict a more confident and knowing lady of the sea than the one in Hans Christian Andersen's story. Parker was inspired by the literature, but she chose to adapt it to make it more relevant, more personal. That's the great thing about books. We read them, but we make them our own inside our heads. Discuss with the person next to you what I mean by your mind's eye. As an animator, I'm fascinated by how you can see stories. Here are some screenshots from a favourite film of mine by Jonathan Hodgson. He based the film on a poem by Charles Bukowski. It is written from the point of view of a man remembering events when he was a child. Notice how he only draws the bits that are important, and he chooses to leave out the rest of the details. He draws the adults as silhouettes or shadows because it doesn't really matter what they look like. They were just adults towering over the boy and telling him what to do. And he uses words, for example here, like he's used the word goldfish instead of drawing the goldfish, because he can, and it's playful. This image shows a man's stubbly chin, shown from the point of view of a child looking up at him. Now, back to Katherine Rundell's books. I have chosen some extracts from her books, and I chose some bits that were really descriptive. Work in small groups and read one of the extracts together. Take it in turns to describe what you see in your mind's eye as you read each of the descriptive parts of the text. You might want to highlight them to identify what bits you're talking about. You don't have to see lots of detail. You might just see a texture, or a colour, an object, or a character, or a scene. It could be quite close up, or it could be from a distance.
Like she's just like got a cello and she's playing it on top of a roof. Well, I think they're going to a dark passage. A boy around Paris on the she's been saved by a man and she was floating adrift in a cello case, which is quite strange.
Now decide in your groups how you might create an image to show us what you see in your mind's eye.
Just drawing him when he's looking in his boots trying to find some scorpions. Drawing birds for birds which could eat birds. So what we're going to do is we're making brick rubbings and then we've got bird seed. Isabel, what are you drawing? Well, I am drawing metal. Esme, what are you drawing? I am drawing a ruin, and on this part it says the ruin looked different in the sunrise. So that's what. I'm drawing slate. What am I doing? I'm trying to draw the Eiffel Tower.
Your artwork can be illustrations for a book. You can make a storyboard with a sequence of images. You could even photograph your images and edit them together to make a film.
Vita clenched her fist and prayed it was not a rat, and then on second thought prayed it was.
The lights flickering on made it look unfamiliar and alive.
When she did stretch and blink and lay her bow down hours later, Sophie would feel tougher and braver. It was, she thought, like having eaten a meal of cream and moonshine.
Sophie climbed onto the roof and played her cello up among the leaf mould and the pigeons.
Birds died in mid-flight. It was the kind of cold that you booted and kicked your way through.
There was ice cold which might take the skin off your palm if you let it, but probably wouldn't if you were careful. Ice cold smelt sharp and knowing. It often came with the blue skies and was good for skating.
Nobody bothered her up on the rooftop. It was flat grey slate, with stone balustrade running round the edge.
He had been born in Paris, at least he supposed he had. Beneath his feet the orchestra struck up and the opera began vibrating through his shoes and all the way into his lungs. Every step Vita took was the same as the previous one. It became like a dream, a nightmare, edging in the silence through the day. Had she not heard Arcady's breath beside her, the sound of Silk's feet, the brushing of Samuel's coat sleeve against the wall, she would have doubted she was moving forward at all.
And that is what the baby saw as she was lifted out of her cello case and up into safety.
Ruin looked different in the sunrise. It looked more alive. There were places where vines covered the half-fallen remnants of walls along the far end of the square.
Fred walked slowly through the open square, staring upwards.
He tipped up his boots, checking them for scorpions. All books he'd read had been very urgent on the matter of scorpions.
The only other sounds were the dripping of water and an echoing, scratching sound from the tunnel ahead of them.
And decided not to eat it. She flushed it down the lavatory instead.
When there was a flurry of wings and bright eyes, a crow landed on her windowsill and began to devour the seed.
And through it all, the great river Seine, turning midnight blue as the summer evening fell.